Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new malicious compliance content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, "You want an omelette with nothing inside?" Okay. So my first job was a server at a very popular 24-hour breakfast diner chain. We had lots of colorful customers. One morning, I'm serving a woman sitting by herself. I ask her what I can get her, and she says she'd like an omelette. We have a list of pre-built omelets, or you can build your own. So I ask her how she'd like her omelette. "Just a regular omelette, please," she tells me. "Okay, so you don't want one of the signature omelets. What would you like inside of yours?" I ask. "Nothing, just a regular omelette," she replies with a huff. I pause for a second because this order does occur, but not often. Some people like their eggs scrambled and cooked, then rolled up. "So you'd like an omelette with nothing inside?" "Yes, a plain omelette," she snaps, now irritated that I've questioned her several times. So I enter the order, a 5-egg omelette with no fillings and no toppings. A few minutes later it comes out, and she is appalled. "What is this?" "Your plain omelette," I reply. "But where is the cheese, or the ham or the onions?" She is irate. "Ma'am, you ordered an omelette with nothing inside." She gets cocky and says, "An omelette is eggs rolled up with ham, cheese, and onions. Everything else is extra. You should know this, working at a breakfast place." I look at her deadpan and inform her, "Actually, ma'am, omelette is French for scrambled eggs that are fried and rolled or folded. Everything else is extra." I'm busy so I walk off and help other colorful customers. Meanwhile she flags down a manager to complain, who confirms what I told her and points out that in the menu there is, very specifically, a ham cheese and onion omelette with a large picture in the middle of the page. Then tells her she has to reorder her meal and wait a second time. She didn't leave a tip. Next one is titled, "Call the cops about your stolen garbage?" Sure thing. This happened a few years ago while I was working at a will-not-be-named drugstore. Some of the details are fuzzy, but I'll paraphrase as best I can. At said drugstore, we have a booth where people can buy lottery tickets, cash their winnings, etc. I was working said booth when what can best be described as your typical Karen walks in, wanting to check some lotto tickets. Karen hands over 2 lottery tickets, and I run them through the ticket reader. "Prize already claimed" pops up on the screen, meaning the woman had taken these tickets elsewhere, collected her cash winnings, and opted to take the winning tickets with her afterward. This meant at best, she mixed up her tickets. At worst, she was trying to run a scam, though why she thought it'd work, I'm unsure. Me. "Miss, the system is showing you have already cashed these tickets, meaning you've already received the prize." I put the tickets down on the counter in front of her. "Karen. That's ridiculous. There's X prize on this one and X prize on this one. Go get your manager." "As you wish, my minivan princess." Manager. "Miss, you've already claimed these prizes. There's nothing we can do." Karen does as Karens do and flips out. I was only 16 at the time, so my manager handles her as I stand back and watch. Eventually, something clicks and Karen hears for the first time what I'd told her 10 minutes ago, and calms down. Not for long. Crisis averted. My manager returns to her office. "Karen. Where are my tickets?" Me. "I placed them on the counter in front of you. They're garbage anyway, since there's no prize on them." Karen. "I didn't take them. Someone stole them. I keep all my lottery tickets. Where are they?" Me. Giving her some side-eye. Not sure. I'll check around." No lottery tickets to be found anywhere at my station. I inform her that she saw, but again, the tickets are worthless. Karen, returning to her primal state. "I don't have them, so clearly someone stole them. Call the police right now, or I will." This time I go to my manager's office and inform her of the situation. KMC. We decide if she wants the cops involved. Then very well, we'll oblige. We do this both because if she calls, she'll likely say something nuts and cruisers will roll up prepped for an armed robbery, which would be a huge waste of police resources, and as well, perhaps this is a good time for Karen to learn appropriate use of emergency services. I call the non-emergency line and tell Karen to sit tight. We live in a quiet suburb-like town in our city, so a single officer arrives shortly thereafter. I speak to the officer and inform them of the situation, noting specifically we called in the best interest of the situation. Karen and the officer step into the break room to chat. What I hope occurred was a stern talking to and swift diagnosis of Karenotitis, followed by some crocodile tears and a hefty fine. Unfortunately, since I was the one who called, I don't believe this occurred, and since I couldn't hear their talk from my station, I can't say with any certainty what happened in there. That said, I can piece together that it wasn't pleasant, as a flush-faced, purse falling off her shoulder, tip-tap walk running Karen emerged and made a beeline for the exit, not making eye contact with anyone. Ah, the satisfaction of a lightly cursing Karen struggling to find her sunglasses in the cosmic wasteland of her purse. The officer stopped by briefly to let me know not to call for anything similar, though I could tell there was no animosity between us, having been on the same side in the eternal battle against Karens. Next one is titled, "You Want Me to Do Your Part of the Job?" Okay. Background. I work in McDonald's, understaffed for several months. The shitty company also cut our pay 10 to 20% when the pandemic started. Working in those conditions, nobody has time to follow procedures to 100%, nor is willing to. Since most of the people quit or got transferred, we aren't left with many annoying colleagues, except the director of the restaurant. But he is currently on paid leave, so it is kinda chill on the job. I've been working night shifts for about a month and a half non-stop. And there are 4 potential managers, expert trainers, that are rotating in the night shift. 2 of us are tasked with cleaning the whole restaurant in span of 6 hours. It was barely possible when we had a 3rd person in the night shift, let alone now with 2 of us. Some of the things that the PM is supposed to do is to collect every single piece of food left in the kitchen and lower them to the freezer in the basement, which is pain in the ass, clean the lobby, fill the boxes and bags for the next day, etc. And the new procedure is letting the morning kitchen manager get the food from the freezer up and ready in the morning, therefore, not part of the night shift. Ergo, lowering the food in the freezer is often skipped, so that the morning chef doesn't have to drag everything up. 3 of the 4 PMs are cool people and are always helping me, since on average night they're done with their work by 02h. You can guess which one's gonna enforce MC on me. That's right, it's Mario, the 4th PM, the first one to become the trainer, the one who failed tests to become a manager after boasting to everybody, you know, the salty one. Story. So, I'm working the night with Mario and everything goes as usual. He barely helps with my part, which is okay, but he also asks me to help him, ridiculous, and I do. Since I don't put even 40% into my work and always have in mind that I will need to help this idiot. So, he promptly skipped lowering the food, cleaned the lobby and had me fill the boxes and bags, all while I had to change oil in the fryers, around 90 liters of oil, so quite tiresome and time-consuming, but I did it anyway. The night shift ends and next nights it's one of the cool PMs and everything is nice again. Mario's off for 1 day, then assigned to the delivery. But he keeps bothering the cool PM about the kitchen freezers and how I should clean them. Cue malicious compliance. Cool PM jokingly tells me what Mario, who he calls Stinky, said. I respond with a laugh and proceed to ignore Mario's orders. The next night the cool PM reminds me that Mario said that he cleaned freezers every night, and by the looks of the freezers and my witnessing, it's obvious he didn't. Again, I just ignore his orders until a light bulb shines above my head. Yo, cool PM. Who's the morning kitchen manager tomorrow? It's Stinky. Oh, well, what do you know, I just might clean the freezers. I proceed to lower everything in the freezer in the basement. It took cool PM some time to realize what's happening, and when he noticed, he burst in laugh and said he can't believe I really did it, again, part of his job, not mine. So, that happened last night. I'm waiting for Mario's response, but it felt good and the cool PM said he was very glad that I did it. Next one is titled, "So, about all these purchase orders." So the scene is this. It's 1990, I am in college pursuing a computer science degree. For various personal reasons I am getting burned out and leave during my senior year and decide to get a job. It's probably worth noting that in many areas then, the demand for computer professionals was so high that a lot of places didn't care if there wasn't a degree, there was a massive shortage of people. So, it didn't take me long to land a job. It was at a factory that made hydraulic equipment. There were about 50 office workers there, mostly engineers, accounting, HR, the dock office, plant management, and the various support staff for those positions. This is where almost all of the computers were. It's probably useful to explain that there was no IT department at all. I was the only IT person for the whole place. After I started there, it was explained to me that I wouldn't be getting a computer. What the duck? The reason was this. At the time, it was a status symbol for managers to have a computer on their desks, and most of them never used it. Corporate wanted to encourage the managers to send those computers to their staffs who would actually use them, but they didn't want to lose their symbols. So, you'd have a manager with a computer and 4 or so people under him sharing one PC. Anyway, as there was no IT department, they put me in the accounting department, for lack of anywhere else. Now, while we weren't allowed to purchase new computers, we were allowed to repair broken ones, and that was part of my job. Failed hard or floppy drive or monitor or power supply or whatever. When I needed a part, I'd grab the latest issue of Computer Shopper. Tech people of my generation know it well, but for those who don't, it was basically a big magazine with ads for computers and computer parts. And it was enormous. Hundreds of pages every issue. So one day I am in my office. Yes, I had an office with a desk, phone, door I could close, just no computer, and the payroll clerk walks in. We will call her Claudia. Claudia points to the magazine and asks if that's where I order the parts from. I said yes. She then asks if it would be possible to build a functioning computer from the various parts. I said sure, that's not a big deal. She then asks if any of the components cost more than $250. That immediately got my attention because of the company's purchase order policy. Basically, every manager had the power to authorize any single PO up to $250. Anything more had to go to the plant manager. I sensed she was up to something, but I answered honestly. No, none of them do. She asked me if I could make up a list for her of the parts that would be needed. Maybe she was cooking something up with our boss? Anyway, I said sure, and that afternoon I presented her with the list she was asking for, grouped so that no single purchase cost more than $250. The next day, the accounting manager calls me into his office. He has a stack of paper and says he needs to talk to me about them. I have no idea what he's talking about. I take a look, they are all POs. For the equipment I spec'd out. With my name as the requester. Claudia didn't put her name on it, she put mine on them and didn't tell me. The boss says, "What is all this about?" So, look, if you're still reading this, if you take nothing more away from this story, remember this. Never, ever, ever throw the payroll clerk under the bus. I successfully make my wisdom check and lean full into this fiction. I thought it would be a good idea to have some spare parts on hand in case of a failure, so that I can fix it in hours instead of days. The boss looks at the paperwork. Motherboard, case, power supply, memory, monitor, hard drive, floppy drive, that's a lot of stuff. I tell him that if I have a wide selection of parts, I'll be ready for any eventuality. He says, "It seems to me that you could actually construct a new computer out of all of this." I say, "That's a really good idea. If I do that, I can verify that every part is functional before I need to use it in a repair." He scribbles something on the top PO and hands the stack back to me. "I won't be approving this. You can go." I walk out of his office wondering if I got in trouble until I glance at the stack. What he had scribbled was, "Nice try, Claudia." He was never fooled. Dropped the stack off on her desk as I went back to mine. A few months later I got a better job at a place that decided its IT staff would be able to do a better job if they had access to a computer. Last one is titled, "Don't Piss of IT." Not too far back in my career I was working at a lighting design company. Makes lighting fixtures for richer people, costs a lot of money. Well, this company has been pen and paper for inventory and work orders etc. and are trying to join the digital age. Well, in comes me college kid with a computer science degree and no experience. They say, "We will give you a raise while working our technical aspects and give you more work time." I had a wedding to pay for, so more money and time is a huge thing at this point in life. So I needed a decent PC to run the 3D modeling software, internet, the inventory system and a lot of time to put all the different models into a database. They got me a cheap PC, poor internet connection, had no inventory system and wanted a from the ground up full database in 6 months with no issues. They said they would check monthly on my progress to grade my tenacity. Now I go to work, I get the models built, and into a file type to be transferred to a database. Start scouting different servers I could use for this, cost effectiveness, or I could write my own program as a basic prototype to just get it done. It's been hell to work with the bosses as they keep using the cheapest trial software, and every time they do it ends with me having to start from scratch yet again because they won't pay for a good system, swearing that they can easily save money. Finally I have about 90% of them file done and it's 2 weeks from the deadline, Christmas time and final exams for my certs. Well, boss number 2 calls and tells me they forgot to check for the last 5 months and begins screaming how I was incompetent for not having even half of them done. I was bewildered. He says to check Form A2 for the list of pieces they wanted done. They never sent me that list, it was in no email, not in the team file share. Nothing. He says, "Here is the file. Why didn't you say anything sooner? Get it done, I don't care what it takes. By the way, with this terrible performance you're not getting a raise." How was I supposed to know of a form that never existed? I look at the file, it took 5 months to translate and store 300 of these files. With that form he added another 1,300-ish. I was pissed. The malicious compliance. They told me work from home and as long as it takes. So I made a macro with my PC and set it up to fill out those files, but the macro speed was limited by Google Sheets loading time. May have purposefully slowed it down, who knows. So it was slightly slower than hand typing but required no input from me. I was free to spend my time playing games, watching TV etc. Well, about a week in and I get a call about me never clocking out for work. I told him to look at the files. Every time a file was added it was clocked in the system down to the second. Never had I heard man so pissed about losing that much in wages. What pushed him over the edge was me telling him the money spent paying me for doing this was more than just giving me good software, but I did what it took to get it done. The paycheck was great, the time off was great, and they still don't know how a macro works. Thanks for listening.